AO Racing has made a name for themselves over the past 2 seasons in IMSA with their bold livery, aggressive strategy, and hard-charging young drivers. However, as Seb Priaulx lines up on the grid to start this 2-hour and 40-minute classic around Laguna Seca, the team is still lacking that elusive first victory. With the factory Corvettes lining up 1-2, it is once again going to take an aggressive strategy and hard charging for these two youngsters to muscle their way through the field and claim that first GTD victory for AO Racing. With the pace car pulling into the pit lane, the two Corvettes lead the field through turn 11 and onto the front straight to take the green flag. It's an early jump from the Corvettes as they try to scamper away from this GTD Pro field. As they make their way over the turn 1 crest, we can look to the right and see that there is the heart of racing Aston Martin that brakes incredibly late into the Andretti hairpin. Seb Priaulx is caught behind this 14 Lexus through the apex and just leaves enough space for Mario Farnbacher on the exit. Coming out of turn 3 and into turn 4, which is a fast right-hander, just a quick dab of the brakes and immediately back on the throttle, trying to carry as much speed onto the straight as possible. Into turn 5, which is a fast uphill left-hander, we see that Aston Martin looking around the outside of the Lexus, but just isn't able to make the move stick as Priaulx uses all of the road on the exit before heading into the most challenging corner on the circuit. There's a huge compression at the apex that spits you out to the right-hand side of that fast left-hander. A quick moment to breathe, though, as you make your way over to the left-hand side to set up the most famous corner on the circuit, the corkscrew. Feels like you're dropping off of a cliff as you make your way down through the corkscrew. The last portion of the circuit comes at you so quick through this fast left-hander known as Rainy Curve. Use all the curb on the right-hand side. Set up the fast right-hander. Huge compression through the apex. Use all the curb on the left-hand side and brake as late as possible into turn 11 before slamming on the throttle and doing it all again. This circuit is a huge test both mentally and physically, and that has been magnified this season by the repaving of the circuit, which makes it even faster and more demanding on the driver. As the stint continues, though, this 23 Heart of Racing Aston Martin just starts to run wide of that apex at the Andretti hairpin and into turn 3 as well, just slightly wide again. It looks like that Aston Martin is just running off its tires a bit sooner than this Porsche. Through turn 4 again, that Aston Martin is wide, and Priaulx has the run and is firmly in the draft. He peeks to the inside in the braking zone. That distracts Farnbacher, who runs slightly wide and off of the road on the exit. Priaulx has the run, has the overlap, and now has the position up into turn 6. Priaulx brings the 77 Porsche into P5, but now sets his sights on this number 14 Vassar-Sullivan Lexus that is caught behind one of the GTD Corvettes, the number 13 AWA car. Across the start-finish line and over the turn 1 crest, Hawksworth peeks to the inside of this Corvette that brakes as late as possible, does not yield to the Lexus, and runs slightly wide, all the while holding up this 14 car and allowing Priaulx to catch up to the both of them. Through turn 3, the Corvette is just slightly off pace, but there is nowhere for this Lexus to go. Into turn 4, it's the same story. The Lexus has nowhere to go. Priaulx has the run, but he also has nowhere to go as the Lexus and the Corvette go side by side. Priaulx definitely has the pace advantage on this Lexus, but it's just so challenging to find a place to pass on this Laguna Seca circuit. As the stint continues, though, so does Corvette's advantage as they still run 1-2 as we jump on board the Antonio Garcia. But this is a critical moment in the race because with just over 2 hours left, the teams can now make it on just 2 more pit stops. The Corvette team splits their strategy. The 4 car is the first GTD Pro to make it into the pit lane, with the number 77 making the split-second decision to join just behind. Now, the 4 Corvette and the 77 Porsche are actually at a slight disadvantage compared to the cars that are still on track. That's because IMSA doesn't allow tire warmers. So, as the team bolts on a set of fresh but cold Michelin tires, Heinrich will actually be slower for his first few laps back out on track. But if you have confidence in your driver and confidence in your tire warm-up, you can use this strategy to put pressure on the cars that are still on track. And just 2 laps later, we can see that Heinrich has done exactly that. As he breaks into turn 11, we can see that there is the 14 Lexus and the number 4 Corvette just in front of the 77 REXY Porsche. And importantly, we can see this Lexus is weaving on the front straight because Hawksworth has cold tires on board. Heinrich brakes incredibly late in the 77 Porsche and clips the second apex of that Andretti hairpin. And we can see him closing in on the 14 Lexus and the 4 Corvette, which are both caught behind a GTD Ferrari. Through turn 4, and Heinrich has a huge run on the Lexus. Hawksworth tries to defend to the inside, but the 31 Cadillac makes its way past and opens the door for Heinrich, who squeezes past through turn 5. AO Racing using strategy, skill, and speed to get past the number 14 car. With these cars battling behind, the number 3 is still flying out on track on his hot tires, having not pitted yet. But as he makes his way through Rainy Curve and into turn 10, we can hear Antonio Garcia short shift. And that is because the safety car has come out, and that will ruin the number 3 car's day. So, jumping back aboard the number 77 Porsche, we can look to the left and see that there is the debris that caused the safety car. And with the race being neutralized, the number 3 car needs to come in and make a pit stop. This will effectively put them at the back of the GTD Pro field. So, with Heinrich still out on track, he is now in 3rd position with just the number 4 Corvette and the number 9 Pfaff McLaren ahead of him. And as the field makes their way back to green, Heinrich is pressurizing the 4 Corvette of Tommy Milner. As they pass the start-finish line and head over the turn 1 crest, Tommy Milner defends to the inside into the Andretti hairpin, and Heinrich brakes late around the outside with that Corvette still stuck behind the GTD Ferrari. Heinrich looks to the inside and sends a late move. Tommy Milner leaves space at the apex, and Heinrich is through into 2nd position with just 2 GTD cars separating him from the GTD Pro leader. Heading into the hairpin, Heinrich needs to make quick work of this 34 Conquest Racing Ferrari if he wants to catch up to the GTD Pro leading number 9 Pfaff McLaren. That Ferrari is fast in a straight line and has no plans to let Heinrich by. The Ferrari brakes late into the Andretti hairpin, clips the apex, but loses the rear of the car, and Heinrich easily slides past, now 1 car closer to the GTD Pro lead. Meanwhile, further back, it is hard going for Alexander Sims as he sends a late move on the 23 Heart of Racing Aston Martin. Ross Gunn gets a better launch onto the front straight using that wide line though, and is able to hold onto the position ahead of the number 3 Corvette. Back on board with Lauren Heinrich, and he has caught the back of this 66 Acura, which is just behind the GTD Pro leading McLaren of Oliver Jarvis, who is also caught in GTD traffic. Coming out of Rainy Curve, and the Acura is all over that exit curb, but Heinrich has a run coming out of turn 10. Into 11, he shows his nose, and McAleer leaves space at the apex for the 77 Porsche, who is now just behind the GTD Pro leading Pfaff McLaren in that beautiful one-off Motul livery. Onto the Rahal Straight, and Oliver Jarvis is in the worst position possible, being caught behind 2 GTD cars that are battling for position. Into the corkscrew, and Jarvis has absolutely nowhere to go as the Porsche looks to make its way past the GTD Lexus. The number 9 Pfaff McLaren sneaks up the inside of the GTD Porsche, and REXY squeezes past as well into turn 10. The McLaren is still in GTD traffic though, and Jarvis goes 2 wheels in the dirt as he tries to push that McLaren to its absolute limit, but goes just beyond. Out of the final corner and onto the front straight, the fight is on for the GTD Pro lead. Heinrich now firmly in the draft of that McLaren. Into the Andretti hairpin, Jarvis looks to make his way past the Lexus, who does not yield, and Jarvis is caught behind that slower GTD car. Into turn 3, Jarvis looks to the inside again, but there is just nowhere to go through this first sector. There is now nothing separating Heinrich from the class leader. He looks to the inside, Jarvis defends through turn 4, but that compromises his exit. Heinrich makes contact, just bumping that McLaren down the straight slightly, who defends into turn 5, brakes as late as possible, but it's just slightly too late. Heinrich has the run coming out of the corner, has an overlap heading into turn 6, and Jarvis has to relinquish the position to the number 77 car. Incredible, incredible racing as REXY now leads the GTD Pro class. It appears that the stars have finally aligned for this number 77 car. But the same cannot be said aboard this number 3 Corvette of Alexander Sims, who looks to make his way past this 23 Heart of Racing Aston Martin, but is just having absolutely no luck. As they make their way down the front straight, we see GTP cars screaming by on the left-hand side. Sims brakes really late, though, into turn 1, and Ross Gunn leaves space for this number 3 car. Now that Sims has cleared that 23 Aston Martin, he can set his sights on the number 1 BMW just ahead. Onto the front straight, and we can see the number 57 GTD Mercedes trying to get past the GTD Pro BMW as a prototype BMW looks for a way past as well, but can't find any space with these two running side by side. Into the Andretti hairpin, the Mercedes squeezes past the GTD Pro BMW. The number 1 car's exit is compromised, and the Corvette tries to squeeze his way around the outside into turn 3. Sims switches on him, gets up the inside, heading into turn 4. They run side by side, but they make contact at the apex, and the Heart of Racing Aston Martin squeezes past both of them down the straight into turn 5. It is 1 position gained, 1 position lost aboard that number 3 Corvette as he has to settle in behind the 23 Aston Martin once again. But this battle is not over yet, and Sims sends a late move. Ross Gunn sees it coming at the last second, though, is able to get a better exit coming out of the corner. Sims tries to squeeze him down the front straight, but the Aston Martin has the overlap and is able to use its turbocharged engine to claw its way past. The Corvette brakes really late into the Andretti hairpin, but it's too late. Sims slides wide and is once again stuck behind the 23 Aston Martin. But with 0 minutes left on the clock, let's jump back aboard the number 77 Porsche with Laurin Heinrich, because he and this number 77 crew have managed this race absolutely perfectly and will come across the line to claim AO Racing's first victory in GTD competition. A well-deserved eruption of emotion from Heinrich as he celebrates this historic victory for the 77 car. Anyways, if you guys made it this far, I want to thank you so much for watching, so much for all the love, so much for all the support. I really appreciate it. I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.